Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with fem Jashin and becomes godlike? Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Silence, pure utter silence, was the only thing that could be heard in the office of the Sandaime Hokage, as the two elders present, Kakashi, Anko and Hiruzen Sarutobi himself, were stunned to complete silence, as if they were all in a near-death state of a short, while trying to process what they just heard from the grey-haired loli before them known as Jashin. The goddess of destruction who claims Naruto is her master in any form of the word. For the past 30 minutes, Jashin explained what she told Naruto about her clan from where they originated, her father sending her to this planet to plant the seed of the holy tree that bears the fruit that has chakra. Her mother Kagaya eating the fruit to stop the wars that tore the world apart, then her mother giving birth to her two brothers, with one of them being the mythical sage of the six paths, with Kagaya hiding her existence from her brothers for reasons Jashin herself didn't know of. She even told them about Kagaya being infected by the holy tree's corruption, then placing Her Jashin inside a glass container, burying and hiding her and the temple that now belongs to Naruto before she was consumed by the holy tree's corruption and transformed into the progenitor of the Biju known as the Ten Tails. After a full 2 minutes of silence, Anko was the first one to speak as she said. "So what does this have to do with Naruto?" Jashin turned to the purple-haired Takubetsu Jounin and answered simple. "When my father died, he wished for his power to live on and be obtained before any one of my cousins, sisters or uncles could get it all for themselves and use it for their own selfish reasons. In order for that to happen, he and my mother decided that if the both of them were to either be sealed away, defeated or lost in the vast cosmos, someone would find me in a deep sleep and awaken me, as that very person who awakens me from my sleep will be the person to tame me, take care of me, and I would gift that person who would become my master or mistress with the power of my father, as my mother would watch over and protect the said person from anyone who tries to harm him or her before he or she would finally know how to use the power of my father to its best. My mother is still very much alive, as is Jiraiya there, watching over Naruto-sama as we speak." Jashin pointed to the moon, causing everyone to first look at the moon, then back at her with Kakashi saying, "And how did she get inside the moon?" It was Naruto this time who answered, "Well, during the fight Kagaya-sama had with Hamura and the Rakuto Sennin, the two brothers knew that the only way for them to defeat their mother was to have her sealed inside one of them, or rather Hagoromo in this case. When the battle was won, the Rakuto Sennin became the first Jinchuriki as he had Kagaya-sama's chakra sealed inside of him. With the power he gained from that, he created a technique called Ninshu, which allowed the user of the said technique to share and connect with everyone around him, allowing everyone to have a mutual understanding for each other and have the said chakra of the person using the technique. After about 80 years of living with Kagaya-sama sealed inside of him, he was finally at his deathbed and decided to create what we now call the moon through the use of a Rinnegan technique called the Chibaku Tensei. With this, he unsealed Kagaya-sama from the seal, then separated her chakra into 9 separated pieces we now call the 9 Biju, then sealed Kagaya Otsutsuki into the very moon he created, said Hamura, getting a nod from Naruto and Jashin. Anko made a dry chuckle and said, "Hold on a minute here. Do you really expect us all to believe that you are God, and so is Naruto, from you giving him the power of your father, who could possibly be the kami of all deities in the cosmos? Really?" Jashin looked into Anko's pupilless round brown eyes with Ursula, still having the small but visible blood vessel surrounding her pupilless red iris, then sighed tiredly, while her shoulders slumped down as she asked, "What will take for you to believe every word I just said, Anko-sama?" "Huh? Why are you calling me Sama?" was what Anko asked with a look of confusion on her face, to which Jashin smiled warmly with eye smiles as she responded, "Because you are Naruto-sama's surrogate mother and personal love interest. Therefore, the people Naruto-sama acknowledges as his precious people are my superiors." Anko was completely baffled at the answer she received, but more at Naruto having a crush on her, and looked at the blonde who smiled at her, but sneaked a hand into Jashin's dress to pinch her on the left butt cheek for spilling out such sensitive information, and said to her, "Like I said, I'm not a person of secrets, Anko-san. I was planning on telling you about it, but I just didn't feel ready about telling you, and I didn't want you to see me as the guys who keep trying to dive into your pants all the time." Naruto, said Anko as she looked at Naruto with a softened expression, but looked back at Jashin and said, "Well, if you are who say you are, then make Kaharu-san 40 years younger." Smirks. At this, everyone in the ROOM including Naruto was once again stunned to complete silence at Anko's dare, as Kaharu gasped in sheer surprise and looked at the torture specialist as if she had grown extra weight on her chest, meaning a third boob and a third leg. Anko looked back at everyone and said, "What? I can't really think of anything else right now, since she claims to be the god who feasts on the souls of the people her worshippers kill." and besides, it would be nice to have a village elder I can hang with every once in a while and do fun stuff with since Nai-chan is always training her team and trying to master other genjutsu techniques. And besides, I hear you like dango with strawberry sauce, Kaharu san Shida Tingran. I will not admit such an old feeble rumor, Mitarashi. Said a stuttering and blushing Kaharu. Jashin did a thinking pose with the index finger of her right hand tapping her chin, then shrugged her shoulders as she said okay, fine then. Normally I would charge a god-awful price for such a request, but since it's a dare to prove I am a deity, I can do it. Would you like to be 40 years younger, Kaharu-chan? Kaharu froze at the question and the attention being on her, but couldn't help but flash back to her years of being young and full of life and being able to go on missions and enjoy the thrill of protecting Konohagakure from its many enemies while fighting for her life and others instead of just sitting around all day and talking about what is in the best interest of the village and telling her fellow teammate Hiruzen Sarutobi what to do all the time since that is what came with the occupation of being a village advisor. She would have continued her little trip down memory lane but was stopped by Jashin, who spoke with an annoyed look on her face. We don't have all day here, little granny. Do you want to be a hot young woman again or? I would like to be young again, Jashin-sama. But if I may ask, will there be any side effects to retrieving my youth? Well, said Jashin while looking up to the ceiling as she continued. Apart from your hormones acting up sometimes, your lust for hot and heavy effects coming back tenfold, your DNA mutating, causing you to have one or two bloodlines, and your body reversing the clock and being stuck that way. Nope. No side effects. Now, Naruto-sama, can I have a cup please? Naruto first looked at the female village elder before him for a second and could tell that being offered her youth back must have been something she has been dreaming of by the pleased look on her face and the desperation and happiness in her eyes. Then he looked over to Jashin to see that she was actually hiding something from that wink she gave him. Nah, I don't like that wink. I feel like my life is about to be more chaotic than it will already be when she gives me that wink. With slight hesitation, Naruto created a medium-sized glass cup with his left hand as the kanji for yin on his hand flashed, then handed it to Jashin who looked into the cup, then formed her lips into a small circle. In a split second, clear glistening white water came out her mouth like a tap pouring water into a cup and filled up the glass cup, causing the people in the room to look on in shock and awe at what Jashin is doing. Yep. There's no doubt about it now. Everything she said is true. But let's see if that water really is gonna work first before I can jump into conclusions, was what Anko thought of before she looked over to Naruto and thought to herself I need to talk to him when all of this done. I really do. When the cup was filled, Jashin walked up to Kaharu and handed her the cup, then said drink up. And don't spill a drop of it. Once you do that, the carpet will be infected and anyone who steps on this floor will be a 21-year-old adult or 2-year-old baby, depending on who it is, at the cost of your mistake. Kaharu looked at the cup for a brief 6 seconds, then looking at Hamura who gave her reassuring smile with Hiruzen sitting at the edge of his seat with his Kage hat off his head, showing his look of anticipation. So I somehow feel an inch of hope growing inside me about this. I hope this will really work for me. She opened her mouth and slowly drank the contents of the cup while moaning at the sudden burst of extreme taste hitting her tongue as the water tasted like drinking the oldest wine during a hot summer day with ice cubes, giving the wine a fresh and enriching flavor. While she was drinking the water, her entire being was enveloped by a white light, blinding everyone in the room besides Kakashi who closed his normal eye and opened his Sharingan eye to see what was happening to the village elder, along with Naruto and Jashin, who looked on at the spectacle that was taking place before them. Once Kaharu drank up all the water and swallowed, the white light vanished from her form after a brief 2 seconds, revealing her body to have now undergo a complete change. Instead of the long grey kimono held by on Obi with a jacket and sash over it, Kaharu was now wearing no shoes, exposing her clean feet for all to see. And I do not have a foot fetish, if some of you are thinking that. But the long grey skirt that reached past her knees showing the bottom half of her smooth long legs, and also wore a sleeveless grey shirt that was cut short over her now fully developed mid-C cup wrists, exposing her flat stomach and cute belly button with her marvelous hips, giving her the figure of a supermodel. Her skin no longer had wrinkles or any proof of old age, with her face being heart-shaped, losing all the sagging of her cheeks, with her lips being smaller and more refined than before, with her eyes being a metallic dark black as her hair turned from its old grey color to a beautiful dark raven black being pulled back in a twin bun, locked by a traditional Japanese hairpin with 2 red pearls dangling on the side, and she has fringes of her hair covering her forehead and diamond studs for earrings on both the ears. And if you guys have watched the anime and saw how she looks like when she was young, you will have to agree with me that this is a good idea. If you haven't, check out her Naruto Iki and you'll see why. After all, this is fanfiction, right? I can do what I want with the characters, right? Right. These were the following reactions to Kaharu being 40 years younger, looking absolutely stunning. Kakashi. eye widening while thinking of telling a certain novelist that the star of Uchiha World War Naughty is back. Enko. Eye widen with a small blush, thinking that Jashin is truly a god with her clan really existing, but her mind goes back to Naruto admitting her crush, then further going into images of her, Naruto, and the now young and beautiful Kaharu having some hot steamy sex in the council chambers. Hamura. Turns pale white with shock while having a minor heart attack. Hiruzen. Same as Hamura, but wishes for his sensei Tobirama to see his sister figure back to her glorious beauty. Naruto helped her to see herself by raising his left hand to her and creating a mirror of her height, and the raven-haired village elder, or should I say youngster, eye widened as she raised her hands to her face to feel her fresh wrinkle-free cheeks, open her eyelids wide to see no bags underneath her eyes, then her hands reached down for her sizable bust that was held by a grey lacy bra. "Oh my this, I can't even think of what to say, this is most unbelievable," said Kaharu. Jashin smirked as she walked up to Kaharu and said, "And the best part about my water is..." Jashin grabbed Kaharu's left hand and bit off a piece of skin hard, causing the now young Karahu to blood furiously at the open wound. Hamura was shocked at this, but was even more shocked at seeing his former teammate, not even flinching in pain at having the skin bitten of her hand, then looked to see the wound closing itself up in a quick matter of seconds. "You have a healing factor I and you feel no pain, since your pain nerve receptors are completely dead. This ability was actually a gift given to me by my youngest niece, the goddess of youth and age on my 10th million birthday. Mind you, it is a little too disgusting, and the taste feels horrible to me, it made me a lot of pocket money back in the days of my Kasama ruling the world with an iron fist, before she had Hamura and Hagoromo." Before Kaharu could even thank Jashin, the grey-haired loli gave her a serious expression while saying about the cost. "I lied. From this very moment you will be living with Naruto-sama at the temple, and you are now one of his official servants whether you like it or not. For drinking my water, that is the cost." Amaru and Hiruzen were about to argue with the goddess of blood and destruction, saying that she should rather give their former teammate her age back instead of tricking her into slavery, while slowly focusing their killer intent on the said grey-haired loli. But they soon kept quiet and flinched at the heavy glare Kaharu gave them, while a single teardrop came down her right eye. Kaharu closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again as she gave a bow to Jashin, while holding the wrist of her left hand with her right hand, giving a stoic but stern expression as she said. I accept the terms for regaining my youth, Jashin-sama. From this day on, I, Kaharu Uchiha, will be a loyal servant and personal guard to Uzumaki Naruto-sama, as I will step down from my possession as one of the advisors of Konohagakure no Sado and retake my position as an elite jounin of Konohagakure no Sado in order to be of great use for his safety, as well as mine and everyone else he considers dear to him. I will soon get the papers in order to make it official and hand them over to young Master Naruto once I have signed them. In the back, Naruto face-palmed himself and hit his head on the wall multiple times while saying, "I should have seen this coming, I should have seen this coming." "Oh, are you sure you want to agree to this?" said Hamura with a worried expression planted on his face. Kaharu gave her former teammate and fellow advisor a stern gaze as she replied, I have never been sure of anything in my life before, Hamura. Well, this is unplanned for, I will not turn away from such a gift given to me. And we both know that I myself had long promised to be a part of young Master Naruto's life before they passed one. I was completely hungover with anger and self-loathing that I forgot to realize the promise I was supposed to keep when Naruto-sama's parents passed on. Add in my growing hatred for the Uchiha clan and the QB, blinded me from my duty as an advisor to decide what's best for young Master Naruto, instead of mindlessly supporting Danzo and the civilian council at every decision they presented a problem with. Hamura, Hiruzen, I ask of the both of you to please let me take up this decision, as this should be my eternal punishment for being so blinded by grief, hatred and self-loathing over the years of losing Tobirama-sensei, along with young Master Naruto's parents, but mostly his father. By the time she was done talking, her stern expression softened a little as tears were now flowing down her soft and wrinkle-free cheeks, and both Hamura and Hiruzen were not faring any better as they too began to weep at Kaharu's confession. Anko was also shedding tears of her own at remembering her late sensei still pregnant with Naruto, then looked over to the blonde who was sporting a look of confusion, but also a softened one with a small smile, and walked up to him as she hugged him from behind, causing the blonde Uzumaki to look up and say, Anko-sana, are you crying? No sobs, I just have something in my eyes, that's all. Okay, then why is she hugging me in the first place? Kakashi, who was now watching the whole spectacle, shook his head while smiling under his mask as he thought to himself, note to self, Matt, didn't I already make that note? Sigh, I hope you're watching Rin, Minato-sensei, Kushina-sama Bido. After a full minute of tears being openly shed, Kaharu, Hamura and Hiruzen had all wiped away the tears with Hiruzen now putting his hat back on and said, Sigh, what has been said here by Naruto-kun and Jashin-sama will as of now be a SSS rank secret. This information will never leave this room, nor will anyone ever speak of this even at the mercy of our lives being taken. As for Naruto-kun's abilities, I will hold a meeting addressing Naruto-kun's heritage and true inheritance, further discussing that these abilities are bloodline limits that were passed down to him by his elder Uzumaki ancestors, as Kushina was carrying them within her genes, but could only activate the Uzumaki chakra chain's Kekkei Genkai. As for the Juin-jutsu blocking seal, I have not spoken to the council about it, so I will say that Jiraiya was the one who placed it there as he discovered how to use such a seal inside the scroll of forbidden jutsu, which I had allowed him to read through. Kaharu, your sudden change will also need to be addressed as Danzo will see that it is indeed you. Kaharu formed a thinking pose for a second, then looked back to Hiruzen with a stoic expression, and replied Danzo is a person who tends to always try and find out the very things that do not concern him, as knowing everyone's secrets is one of things he is best at. Even if I was to say this is a gain jutsu I decided to apply on myself, he would see right through it, and now that this truly is me. My suggestion is that young Master Naruto creates a carbon clone body of my old self, and you will have it admitted to the hospital, saying that I am suffering from a critical heart disease I got due to my age, and being poisoned by him by one of Orochimaru's assassins. By the end of the final stage of the chunin exams, that body will be pronounced dead as I will die of kidney failure and the heart disease that I have suffered from 4 months ago. Yes, but still, the medical ninja of the hospital could do an epiphysis to see if the body isn't just some sort of empty vessel or transformed clone, and that would mean that either you have been kidnapped or you faked your own death to try and defect from Konoha without anyone knowing. I'm not sure this idea will work unless you can copy down Ko's life force and chakra into the body, said Homura. Naruto placed his hands in his pockets, then said with a grin, actually, there is way this could work. You see, the Rakuto Sennin created a Biju not out of nothing, but through the use of a technique called the Banbutsu Sozo no Jutsu. This technique alone allowed him to be initially involved in the administration of imagination and the spiritual energy which forms the basis of yin chakra to create physical forms from nothingness, just like I do with my left hand, which allows me to use the yin half of my chakra when I choose to. Then, through the application of vitality and the physical energy which forms the basis of yang chakra, he would breathe life into the resulting creations he made with the yin part of his chakra. But this technique, I will create Kaharu-san's aged body, then she will breathe life into it, giving the body her own small life force and chakra. Of course, she will have to train in the use of using her yang chakra separately, but that won't take longer than 2 days. Once that is done, I will start working on changing her chakra signature in order for no one to put 2 and 2 together, that she is still alive and faked her own death, and before anyone asks me how I know all of this, it's because of the blood transfusion between me and the blood of Kaguya-sama and Jashinheim's father, along with gaining some of their MEMORIES gains, a deadpan expression. Homura at first thought over the process of the plan, then nodded, seeing as the plan was now completely solid, but one detail was left out. Oh, you will have to change your name for this plan to fully work. You have any ideas for that? Said Homura. Kaharu remained silent for a moment, then looked at Homura and responded, my name will be Uchiha, and I will bear no surname. If I am to be asked of where I come from and who are my parents, I will explain that I lost my parents at birth, and that I, or rather Kaharu-sama, adopted me for the first 14 years of my life, and gave me her surname to use as a name, since I was never given one at birth. Very well. I think a plan will be set in motion as soon as Naruto-kun creates the body, and Uchiha-san masters her use in yang release. However, Jashin-sama, if I may speak. I already know what you two are gonna ask me, said Jashin with a half smile as she looked at Homura and Hiruzen, who avoided the goddess's gaze while sweating nervously. I'll cut a deal with the both of you. For you, Homura-kun, I will give you a cup of my water for the following. Some time from now, a certain somebody will be defecting from Konohagakure. When that happens, you will support Hiruzen over here in labeling that certain someone an S-class threat and give the kill on side order. For you, Hiruzen, I want you to search and eliminate this man. Jashin walked up to the desk and opened up a bingo book that was nearby to a page showing a white-haired man's face. His name is Haiden. From what I know right now, he last performed a ritual in Yugakure no Sado, meaning that he probably lives there or something I don't know and don't care. The reason why I want him gone is because he is the worst worshipper I ever had. All I could hear for the past 200 years is his stupid laughing, screaming my name in vain, and begging me to make him an angel of death so that he could be more closer to me than my first and most precious worshipper. When you see him and engage in battle, don't let him stab you with his scythe, as that will allow him to start the ritual of killing you and feeding your soul to me. When you go for the kill, blow him the fuck up. I mean it deadpan, blow him up and leave not even a single piece of him behind, as that is the only way you can kill Jashinists of his kind. Sweat drop very well, Jashin-sama. Once I step down from my position, I shall dedicate my retirement to finding this man and eliminating him once and for all, said Hiruzen, getting a subtle nod from Jashin, who then clapped her hands together and said, now then. Naruto-sama and Yuta-chan here will be working on the plan to fake her death for the week. After that, me and my cousin will remove the temple out of the ground and onto an unused training ground in the clan district. The move won't be noticed as we will do it late in the early hours of the morning. It's up to you how you want to tell the council and the people of this village about its sudden appearance, but the temple solely belongs to Naruto-sama, and only him, therefore, it is called the Uzumaki Temple. Now if you will excuse us, I will be the one to explain to Naruto-sama about his true heritage and who are his parents. Naruto-sama will come to you tomorrow in the afternoon before the council meeting is held. Kaharu, or rather Yuta, walked up to Hamura and gave him a hug as she said, I hope you can manage keeping Sarutobi in line on your own, Hamura. But of course. You might have been the smartest one in our team, but I was always the strict one looking after you and him and keeping you both out of trouble. Yuta pulled away from the hug and gave Hiruzen a nod, to which he gave one back and said, next time we see each other, I will be sure to give you your Kunoichi gear back and reinstate you as a jounin, Yuta. Naruto walked up to Kakashi, who has been rather quiet all this time, and said to his sensei, are you okay, Kakashi-sensei? You haven't said a thing since Ja-chan spoke. Kakashi looked down to his blonde student, then I smiled as he said, I'm perfectly fine, Naruto. I was just taking in what has happened so far. It's not every day you hear that every single deity in existence comes from a clan, and one of your students just so happens to have one of them as his servant. Well, that deity's parents will now be constantly watching over him, showering him with protection beyond the universe, or more so the protection you were robbed of as a child. Frowns, but I smiles. Not to forget that you have the former village Hokage advisor and former team member of Team Tobirama as your personal servant and possible girlfriend. Chuckles. Naruto eye-rolled at Kakashi's statement but failed to notice Yuta giving a small smile at the thought of being more than just a servant to Naruto. Then she had flashbacks of her lonely nights of living alone. Yearning for the relationship of having to love someone and be there for him as a spouse or precious person and share each other's feelings while doing all the other stuff Hiruzen would tell her during the time him and her late friend Bawako were sexually active. At first, Yuta was against the thought, seeing as Naruto was extremely younger than her, but that thought was immediately pushed out of her mind when she realized that Naruto was in a relationship with someone far older than her, being Jashin, meaning that age was probably not going to be a problem for her if she so chooses to become her young master's lover in the near future. Just as Naruto was about to walk over to Jashin then leave with her and Yuta for the temple, he felt a hand on his shoulder and looked to see Anko looking at him with a softened expression and a small smile as she said to him. "Can I come with you? There's something I need to tell you that's sort of related to what you're gonna hear from Jashin-sama. I want to tell you everything about why I took care of you then adopted you and why I have cared so much about you all this time when you were still young and now." Naruto could see that she really wanted to come, as he could see it in her eyes that were normally hidden by her mask of always being tough about things, being sadistic and installing fear into any man who so much as tried to greet her, as that mask was gone, revealing that sweet and vulnerable side that Naruto saw only a couple of times when he still lived with her. He gave a sad smile to Anko and responded, "Sure, why not? Naruto-sama, it is time for us to leave now," said Yuta, who placed her right hand on Naruto's right shoulder, with Anko placing her hand on his left. Jashin walked over to them and grabbed Naruto's hand and said, "Don't worry, Naruto-sama. I'll send us home since teleporting this many people from such a long distance would cause a strain on you. For now, that is." The group of four were soon encircled by different red glowing symbols that span around them fast, then they left the room in a white flash, with the symbols disappearing after they had left. The temple. In a large sitting room that is adored with gold-plated tiles, with the walls being white and the white ceiling having a large candle chandelier lighting up the room, as this room has multiple sofas with a large fireplace, keeping the room's temperature warm, and a sitting table surrounding one large family couch. Jashin, Yuta, Anko and Naruto all appeared at the same time in a white flash, as red symbols span around them for a few seconds before they vanished, not leaving a single trace behind. Jashin turned to Yuta, then gave the raven-haired woman a warm smile as she said, "Yuta-chan, will you mind bringing Afi-chan here for us? She's just upstairs in the second floor. You'll know which room to find her in. While you're at it, please prepare us some dinner with the finest bottle of sake you can find at the alcohol storage." Yuta gave a small bow and left the sitting room as she took the stairs to go find Office, then do the task of preparing food for everyone with some other dishes to prepare for her young master. Jashin turned to Naruto and said, "Naruto-sama, you might want to sit down for this. You too, Anko-sama." Once everyone was seated, Jashin took a deep breath, then exhaled before she looked at Naruto and said, "Do you know anything about your parents, Naruto-sama? Have you ever guessed who they might be? Well yeah, a couple of times. I once saw this picture of the Yondaime Hokage, and I oddly saw the similarities I have with him, like the blonde spiky hair and my eyes. Then I saw the picture of this woman in a textbook explaining the Kunoichi history of Konoha. I think her name was Kushina Uzumaki, aka the Red Death of Konoha, said Anko. She was my jounin instructor back in the day before I left with that bastard of a snake Orochimaru. Naruto eye widened at this, but composed himself as he continued. I actually read her entire biography and noticed that she was the Yondaime's wife and she had a child. The textbook said that she died with the child on the day she was. Oh boy, said Naruto, seeing the softened expressions on Jashin's face and Anko's face as well. It was a lie, wasn't it? Said Naruto, getting slow nods from the two females before him. Naruto sat there for a moment looking down as his eyes seemed to be narrowed, then looked at Anko and said, what exactly happened? On the day I was born? Naruto, on the day you were being delivered, the Yondaime had your mother moved to a secret location so that no one who would be harmed by the QB if it got out of the seal in your mother, and to make sure that no one tried to attempt to kidnap her or you right after the birth. She did manage to give birth to you without having the seal breaking down, as your father Minato was maintaining the seal the whole time and keeping it closed until your mother was out of labor. What actually went wrong was when a mysterious masked man came to that secret location, killed the Sandaimi's wife and took you hostage. This man only wanted your mother, and the Yondaime tried his best to save both you and her, but only could manage to get you first. Once he did, he took you to the mansion he and your mother lived in, and once you were safe, he went out searching for your mother, but it was too late as this masked man had forcefully removed the QB from the seal and used some sort of strong mind controlling genjutsu on it to make it go on a wild rampage, nearly destroying Konoha. And killing lots of innocent people who fell victim to its rage that day. Naruto was silent for a few minutes, but sat back up as he looked up to the ceiling, showing that his eyes were close to tears, and this caused both females to gain looks of sadness at seeing their always grinning and take no shit Naruto, now nearly being pushed to tears at hearing about his parents and what happened on his day of birth. Anko reached for his right hand and slowly caressed it as she continued. Your mother, she was somehow still alive, and she had managed to survive the extraction of the QB from her, and the Yondaime quickly saved her before the masked man could kill her. They were both debating about what to do on the whole situation, and the Yondaime came up with the idea to have the QB sealed inside you. Your mother argued and fought at first about it, but your father told her that he couldn't ask for another person's child if he wasn't willing to sacrifice his own, and there was no other Uzumaki in the village that could house the QB, seeing as your mother was far too injured and would die too quick, only allowing for the QB to come back and cause more havoc on Konoha. Kushina-sensei. She really cried when she had no choice but to help your father work on summoning the Shinigami and creating the seal that will hold the QB in you. She knew how horrible the life of a Jinchuriki would be, but your father reassured her that you would be seen as a hero for holding the QB at bay and making sure that it would never harm the lives of anyone again. There was a brief moment of silence as the two females watched Naruto sit there taking in the information, and they too began to weep when they saw Naruto clench his hands into fists while tears began to fall from his puffy red eyes. What? Sobs? What about the masked man? Did they find out who he was? Said Naruto. Anko wiped away her own tears and replied, hi. Your father fought with him for a while before he was able to defeat him and severe the genjutsu he had over the QB. He found out that this man was actually an uchiha and claimed to be the late Madara Uchiha, who is the Uchiha clan's late clan head and ancestor. Since then, the Sandaime along with the village elders have been conducting an investigation to see if the masked man would be amongst them, but came out with nothing as they didn't have a brief description of him apart from claiming to be the dead Uchiha ancestor. Look, Naruto-kun, a lot of us knew the truth, but we were told to never tell you until you were strong enough to protect yourself from your father's and your mother's enemies, since that was the reason why you were not given both Minato's and Kusuhina-sensei's last names. I begged and pleaded with the Hokage and the council to let me adopt you, but I was denied at every turn. The Sandaime, he was the one who helped me get close to you and take care of you while the council wouldn't know about it. When the Sandaime bought that apartment down at the 9th district, I also moved in next door to you. It was then that I started to look after you, even though I wasn't always there that time. What about Kakashi-sensei? Did he know about this too? Said Naruto, with Anko replying, he was your father's best student. Demo, Kakashi has been through a lot in his life before you were born. First, he lost his mother, his father the White Fang of Konoha, to suicide. Then he lost his two teammates during the Third Shinobi War. Then he lost your father and mother. When that happened, he joined the Anbu and buried himself into work until he wasn't in the village any longer, taking mission after mission. I guess you can say he sort of shared the same pain Kaharu-san had about you in a way. But me and Nai-chan, we got him to quit being an Anbu member and become a Jounin sensei so that he could hold up his promise of teaching you all the things your father taught him when he was still learning from him. Since then, he did all he could to teach you and make you a strong and powerful shinobi, even though the civilian council kept on blackmailing him to focus more on Sasuke and neglect you on purpose. "Did I do I have any other family out there?" said Naruto as he was now calm and wiped the tears away from his whiskered cheeks while taking deep breaths to stop the sobbing. Anko shook her head and said, "I don't know much about that besides Jiraiya of the Sannin being your godfather. Naruto-kun, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't trying to make him stay and look after you with me. He was always in and out of the village, never staying for a day. Demo, I did get him to buy you that ugly jumpsuit and get you that year's supply of ramen that you always wanted." Naruto gave a low chuckle at hearing what Anko said and responded, "At least he did something for me when I was kid and stopped some of those mob attacks that happened to me. But next time I see him, I wanna hear from him why he never stayed or took me with him to wherever he went, since it was his duty as a godparent to look after me in case my parents weren't around." Sigh, you both wanna know how I feel about all of this, don't you? Naruto received nods from both Anko and Jashin, causing him to sigh as he continued. "I feel a lot of things right now. One of them happens to be happiness at knowing my parents are two of the most strongest ninja Konoha has ever produced. Then there is anger at knowing that they are the very people who are partially to be blamed for the shitty life I've lived. But now, I am starting to realize that it wasn't my dad's fault altogether, as he was only doing his duty as the Hokage to protect the village, and his duty as a father to protect me, since he knew both him and mom wouldn't be there for me, since they were fighting to protect everyone in the village and me. The only bad thing he did on his side was trusting this village to treat me as the hero he wanted. I heard from Mizuki that my dad was the person who sealed the fox into me, but the secret was to be never released for my own safety, since people were still mourning the loss of their loved ones dying at the hands of the fox. And were literally searching for a scapegoat to release all their anger on. It was those power-hungry sons of bitches of the civilian council that put the word out about me being the QB Jinchuriki, and that's when all the shit started for me with this village. Sigh, if you're gonna ask me if I forgive my mom and dad for what they have done, I do. Even though I still hold some anger at them, I understand that my mom must have said a lot of things to me before she sacrificed herself for the QB to be sealed away. My dad. Well, if I was to ever meet him, I would give him the beating of a lifetime, that's for sure. But I do understand that had he not sealed the QB into me, the entire village would have been destroyed and innocent lives would have been lost if he didn't do anything to stop the QB. As for the masked man, dry chuckle, he just gave me an epiphany of a lifetime. A good uchiha is a dead uchiha. I swear that if I ever cross paths with him in this lifetime or the next, I will make sure that I kill him, then bring back to life just to kill him again and again. And again in a lot of different ways that I suffered at the hands of the villagers, just to make him feel the pain he caused me all my life. That's a promise of a lifetime. Jashin could no longer help herself and got close to Naruto as she hugged him and openly wept on his shoulder. Naruto was shocked at first, but soon came to hug the goddess back while saying soothing words to calm her down while soothingly rubbing her back and patting the back of her head. Anko smiled at seeing Naruto comfort Jashin and couldn't help but also sit close to him and brush the top of his head while giving him one of her true smiles that she rarely gave anyone. "You've really grown up from the time I met you, Naruto-kun. You remind me so much of your mother's kindness towards everyone and how she was able to see things from a different perspective instead of jumping to conclusions like she did when she was younger. You were sort of brash and loud-mouthed like she was when she was a child, and she also had the same dream as you when she was a genin. She wanted to become Hokage," said Naruto, getting a nod from a smiling Anko. After 2 minutes of Jashin's crying, the gray-haired Otsutsuki finally calmed down and looked up to Naruto as he asked her, "So what were you going to tell me about my heritage, Ja-chan? You said something about my true heritage that I should know before Hokage-sama would mention it to the council. Well, now that you know who your parents are, I need to tell you that your mother, Kushina, was actually a part of a clan called the Uzumaki clan, and so are you, Naruto-sama." At this, Naruto's eye widened into shock, but compassed his shock as he responded to Jashin with a question. "Wait a minute. Now that I remember, I overheard some people back in the Wave Country talking about a place called Uzushiogakure. Was that?" "Yes. Uzushiogakure was actually a village of the Wave Country, and it belonged to the Uzumaki clan, and had it not been for the attack it suffered, it would have been the sixth great village of the elemental nations today. You see, the Uzumaki clan was one of the clans that helped the Senju and Uchiha clan build Konohagakure no Sado after the clan wars, and when that was done, they became an independent clan that worked to become one of the best and strongest clans that would even have their own village and maybe their own country. The Uzumaki clan was known for its godly prowess in Fuinjutsu, along with their chakra chains and longevity, as some of them, like the late Mito Uzumaki, would live for at least a good 100 years before dying of natural causes. After the First Shinobi War, the Uzumaki clan was close to becoming the sixth major village in the elemental nations, and this didn't sit well with the Kages of Kumo, Iwa and Kiri during that time. Because of that, the Uzumaki clan was seen as a threat, and those three major villages came together to form a surprise attack on the Uzumaki clan that destroyed Uzushio and killed almost every member of the clan. The leader of the clan had sent the message to Konoha and Suna for their immediate aid in fighting off the Kumo-Kiri Iwa forces. That's where the real truth comes in. The messages were sent through the use of summons, as the leader of the clan had the dog summoning contract and the jackal summoning contract. When the summon that was sent to Konoha arrived, it was killed by a certain someone who also had a spy in Suna to take care of the summon that was supposed to give the message to the Kazakage. This person apparently was also in the discussions made between Kumo, Kiri and Iwa and aided them in finding which weak spots to hit the clan, giving them the upper advantage once they had arrived at Uzushiogakure. Before Jashin could further continue talking, Utatane, still dressed in the long grey skirt that reached past her knees, showing the bottom half of her smooth long legs, and sleeveless grey shirt that was cut short over her mid-C cup breasts, exposing her flat stomach and cute belly button with her marvelous hips, giving her the figure of supermodel, arrived with two shadow clones carrying the inner feast, with Office following close behind, who was still dressed in her long black nightdress, adored with a fish cake pattern on it, now wearing just a pair of black slippers on her small feet. The former Hokage advisor village elder placed the trays of food on the table, then said to Naruto, "I cooked this feast for you, Naruto-sama. I hope that you will like the plate of ramen I had made with oxtail and beef soup especially for you. The bottle of sake will be ready shortly." "Where did you find this woman, Ja-chan? She really knows her stuff. I've been watching her for the past 10 minutes now since I had woken up," said Office. Naruto widened at the food before him that was served like a feast meant for a king, then grinned with eye smiles while rubbing the back of his head and said, "You really didn't have to go through making so much food, Utatane-san. It looks like you were cooking for a king and his army." You are far greater than any king that has come to ever exist, Naruto-sama," said Utatane, who raised her right eyebrow and gave a smile which made Naruto blush at the compliment in her smiling, then gave a sheepish laugh, causing the women who were watching to giggle at Naruto's blushing and Utatane's teasing. Jashin looked over to Utatane and said, "Uta-chan, I was just explaining to Naruto-sama the fall of Uzushio and his clan. Would you care to tell him who is responsible for the fall of his clan, along with the passing of Mito Uzumaki, and the reason why Naruto-sama's mother was chosen to be the Natum Kyuubi Jinchuriki?" Upon hearing the question, Utatane's smile vanished from her face and narrowed her eyes, then gave Naruto a stern look and said, "Shimura Danzo Shimura." 1 week later. Konoha Hospital. Sitting at one of the chairs of the waiting room inside the hospital is one Kakashi Hatake, reading his favorite pastime book in silence while he was waiting for his eternal rival to finish his visit here in the hospital, since he promised the bowl-cut-haired Taijutsu master that they will have a little spar before Kakashi would return to training his least favorite student Sasuke. Without even looking up from his book, the one-eyed mask-wearing Jounin said, "Hello Naruto. Nice to finally see your face again." Naruto, who was planning on startling his sensei, gained a deadpan expression with a throbbing vein on his forehead at being discovered before he could scare Kakashi, sat down next to his sensei, and replied, "Nice to see you too, Kakashi-sensei. How have you been?" A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I've been training him like I always do, and now I am forced to teach him an air rank assassination jutsu that will help him in his fight against the Ichibi Jinchuriki Gaara no Sabaku. And I have been trying to talk that godfather of yours since he got here about getting you this." Kakashi took out 2 scrolls from his pockets and handed them to Naruto, then said, "Inside those 2 scrolls are the 2 jutsu that gave your father the S-rank threat level and the flee on side order. The Rasengan and the Hirshin no jutsu. I figured that since you will be trained by her who seems to get the gist of how things work with training you, she can help you master these 2 jutsu before the finals of the chunin exams. Of course, Jiraiya was supposed to teach you, but you and Anko had landed him in a coma. He probably won't be waking up from in a month's time, I think. Hey. He deserved it for what he had to say to me before he told me the reason why he wasn't always around in my childhood. HMPH. Said Naruto with a huff while folding his arms over his chest, causing Kakashi to smile, but his expression soon softened when he looked down to the floor and said to Naruto about that, "Naruto, I'm really sorry for what happened to you. I was really blinded by my grief and blaming myself for your parents' death that I nearly forgot about you." Grins, "Don't sweat it, Kakashi-sensei. Anko-chan had already told me what you had to go through when you were still young, and it wasn't really your fault that Toussaint and Kachan died. I actually wish that maybe I could have helped you deal with the pain of having to lose the people you care about, since I know that pain too. Kakashi's expression brightened up at hearing that, but looked at Naruto with a comical grin and raised eyebrow as he said ooh. So it's Anko-chan now. Wow, Naruto. That charm of yours knows no boundaries. Not to forget that Lady Luck must be really on your side with the ladies. First it was finding you-know-who and bagging you to Tain-sen as a servant, then the new cute lowly dragon girl, now you're dating one of Konoha's most feared ice queens. I fear for the many women you will come across when you get older one day. And the kids you will be having. Huo. I see an army of demigods running everywhere here in Konoha. Grunts and eye rolls at the perverted giggle of his sensei, keep it together, Kakashi-sensei, for you will never know if Ja-chan or Yuta-kan are watching over me right now with Kagaya-sama's crystal ball. You saw what happened to that closet pervert Ibisu when he was watching Anko-chan and Office-chan go to the private hot spring, said Naruto, causing a dark cloud to fall on a comically crying Kakashi with his shoulders slumped down, who said that hot spring is gone, and that was the only one without a roof in Konoha. It's all gone from just one lava release technique she used to destroy it. Now there will never be Icha Konoha adventures anymore because of THIS comical sob. Anyway, thanks for the jutsu, Kakashi-sensei, and I'll be sure to master them during my training period. And for what's it's worth, I hope you stop training that stuck-up Uchiha faggot after this, said Naruto. Kakashi nodded once and said Hokage-sama and Hamura-sama will help me with that, as the civilian council will be reported to the fire daimyo of their business in interfering with shinobi affairs. Laundering money from Konoha's tax payments and the Shinobi Academy, along with other crimes they have committed like exposing an S-class secret, which is your Jinchuriki status to the village during the time the villagers were still recovering from the Kyuubi attack. Once everyone on the civilian council has been arrested and executed for their crimes, a new batch hand chosen by the Hokage and his advisor will fix the mess that was made, like the education system in the Shinobi Academy and the village's economic system. Well, that's good to hear, but I gotta go back home and help Yuta-chan with that plan of ours. I'll see you soon, Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto, who got up and left the hospital as Kakashi also said goodbye to him. Kakashi sighed to himself as he sat back onto the chair and pulled out the book, but smiled at the same time as he thought to himself. It seems like things are finally turning for the better in this village that has lost so much over the years, but I just hope that things can stay that way for Naruto. I can't help but feel as if a heavy storm will come before the sun can shine down on us all, sigh. Unknown location. Ah. I see you have finally returned from the little mission I had sent you on, Luka-kun. What have you discovered about the brat when you followed him to wherever it is he was going? I have discovered that he found a temple that belongs to the long-forgotten mother of the Rakuto Sennin. It seems that he has gotten such power in his grasp from whatever is inside. However, I could not enter the temple as the doors will only open once they sense the chakra signatures of those who are registered to the temple. I found out about who the temple belongs to by the stone table I found nearby. Be warned, Orochimaru, the Otsutsuki are a species no one on this world or any other world could match or even hope to touch, as they are a species of gods and goddesses who are very much respected and feared throughout all of existence. If the Kyuubi Jinchuriki has gotten such power from them, there will be no capturing him like you are doing with Sasuke. I would advise that you stay away from him, as he already has even greater enemies that will come after him and the Otsutsuki clan. Really, now? Still, it wouldn't hurt to try and see if I could make him my second vessel. After all, he does seem to have the legendary chakra of a god, and those eyes seem to hold far more interest and power than the great Uchiha clan Sharingan and the Rinnegan. Such power will be too much of waste to ignore evil smirk. And who knows, maybe I can finally get all the world's jutsu and more if I can find a way into the temple, if it is to ever surface to the ground. If I can accomplish that, there will be no single ninja in the world that could reach my level. Kuku. It has been a good 3 weeks since the truth about Naruto's parents and his heritage was been told to the entire village, the council, along with all of Naruto's friends and all the ninja of the village, and a lot of things have happened since then. On the day of Kaharu's admission to the hospital for a heart disease was announced, the temple that once belonged to Kagaya Otsutsuki, which now belongs to Naruto, resting underground, the forest of death was finally transported to the public training ground at the Shinobi clan district, and a lot of chaos and panic had spiraled out about the whole thing. Luckily, a council meeting was held about the entire thing as the Sandaime, a fully recovered Jiraiya and Naruto, were able to give a reason as to where the temple had came from and why it was placed on the public training ground of the clan district. During the council meeting, the civilians had still yet to accept that Naruto was now going to be a part of the Shinobi Council as the clan head of the Uzumaki clan, along with the fact that he has the chakra and Kekkei Genkai of his Uzumaki ancestor that Kushina only carried through her DNA passing down to Naruto, who was able to grasp the chakra and gain the eyes during a mentally and physically. Painful experience in the forest of death. So as soon as he had arrived at the council chambers to take his seat next the Akamichi clan head Chauza, the overweight civilian FOOLs and maybe hookers seated as female members began to argue, name call him, since the Sandaime had lifted his law. Then babble on about how Naruto's power and eyes should be handed to their precious Sasuke-sama, since such power was not worthy of the QB bastard, and he should have never claimed to be the son of Minato, as the Uzumaki whore had faped their beloved Yondaime, just to have his child. Of course, not only did the Sandaime, Jiraiya and Naruto release an ocean of killer intent on the poor feeble fools, but also all of the Shinobi Council members who were friends with Naruto's parents, along with him too. Flashback time. Are you done now? Are you gonna shut up like you're supposed to since none of this concerns you people? Said Naruto with an intensified glare that would put a certain torture specialist to shame. Some of the civilian council members nodded their heads nervously as they were sweating balls from the killing intent unleashed upon them, while others had already fainted since they couldn't handle the fiery gazes of the Sandaime and Naruto's combined. Naruto sighed as he stopped releasing killer intent, and so did the others as the Sandaime cleared his throat and spoke. Now that Naruto-kun has arrived, Jiraiya-kun here will now explain where does the temple come from and why has it been dropped onto the former public training ground of the clan district. Jiraiya, if you will. Jiraiya stepped forward and gave a short bow to the Shinobi Council and said greetings, Council of Konoha. I understand that a lot of confusion has been made about the temple, but I assure you that there is a good explanation to be made upon its arrival here in Konoha. During my time of searching for any other remaining treasures that were left behind at the ruins of Uzushio, I had found out that some of the buildings that the Izukage and his elite force had managed to save were sealed away in very large scrolls that were meant for such a time like an attack to happen, which in this case did happen. I had tried to take all of the scrolls as there were more than 7 of them, but I could only take what was important while I gave the rest to the Toad Summons as they were there to help me retrieve the scroll that housed the great ancient temple that now stands in the training ground that was made public to the clans of Konoha. I was told by the Toad Summons upon their inspection of the scroll that the temple was actually several centuries old and its size was large enough to at least take up a lot of space ranging to 40 miles by measurement conversion. When I had came back here to Konoha to give my daily report on my findings of what my spy network could discover, I was told that Naruto's heritage and inheritance was to be announced soon and the Uzumaki compound was to be rebuilt while the main house was to be built afresh since the QB no Kitsune's attack had actually destroyed it along with the protective seals placed inside the house. Triggering the house to explode as that also took away the Uzumaki Jutsu library that was a copied-down version of what the temple gave to Konohagakure during the time Mito-sama was to be married to Hashirama-sama. I had spent the past week teaching Naruto on how to release the temple from the scroll in that very training ground since the temple couldn't be placed at the Uzumaki compound that is still undergoing reconstruction as we speak. I actually bought the land of the training ground from Hokage-sama when I told him that I needed the space, said Naruto. Danzo, who was sitting beside Homura, spoke with a stoic expression planted on his heavily bandaged face. If that is the case, then why wasn't it mentioned that you would buy the land, then use it to be a place for the temple to reside on? And why is it not possible for anyone else to enter the temple besides yourself, Jinchuriki? Naruto, at first narrowed his eyes at the old warhawk who did the same, then was about to speak when the Sandaime interfered. Naruto-kun had bought the land just yesterday, and my advisor was there to stand witness to agree that the training ground now belonged to Naruto-kun and the Uzumaki clan. In any case, the land of that training ground was to be sold, since no one within the clan district was using it, since every clan compound has its own individual training ground. I spoke with all the clan heads present here in the chambers of this matter, as I had went to all of the clans to say the training ground will now be owned by the Uzumaki clan, and they all agreed as no one was using it anyhow. And besides, the temple is clan property. My clan has already given the Konoha library the basics of Fuinjutsu, along with giving the dog summoning contract to Kakashi Hatake, who has been a good summoner to the dog summons when I asked them. What is inside the temple is none of your goddamn business, Shimura, so I would kindly like to ask you back off and not even think of trying to set foot anywhere near it again, said Naruto, who got no reaction from Danzo, except an eyebrow raised from the old warhawk. One civilian member foolishly stood up and said. Even if that training ground wasn't used by anyone, it was still private property. Hokage-sama was supposed to inform us of this matter, as selling such land is only affairs handled by us, the civilian council, not the shinobi council. And there has been rumors that the temple itself has people living inside there. The QB brat has kidnapped young children. We have seen 2 little girls leave the temple and enter it numerous times. Naruto sighed tiredly and looked to the Sandaime, who gave the blonde a look that said, this is what I have to deal with every day. Naruto sat back on the chair and rubbed the sides of his neck and said to the two shouting hooligans of the civilian council, "Okay, first of all, you idiots have no jurisdiction on the district of the shinobi clans, and if memory serves me well, that training ground and the land once belonged to the Kurama clan, of which they had sold the land to all the shinobi clans of Konoha only. Meaning that they were the only ones who held the shares on the land. Hokage-sama chose not to hold a meeting over this, since it would be rather easier to go to all the clans and ask them if they would allow me to buy the land, as all the money was sent to them besides the Uchiha claw. Naruto baka. Give Sasuke-kun the money he deserves and give him that temple," said one skinny pink-haired banshee who was now walking in with Sasuke, who had a smug grin on his face. The loud screeching of Sakura made one Tsume and Yuzuka wince while growling at her, and Shukaku, who was sleeping, was now fully awake upon the loud screeching of the pink-haired stain in the room. Sasuke tried to walk up to Naruto, but was stopped by two Anbu, as one wore the mask for Wolf and the other for Nico, with the former saying to Sasuke in a monotone voice, "You will not take a step forward." Sasuke was about to retort to this, but was stopped by Naruto, who said, "What do you want to say to me, Sasuke? If it's about the money, then sorry, those idiots behind you already took it, since you signed the papers saying that they will be funded for their constant backing the Uchiha clan and all the council meetings and decisions taken once you become a chunin. Don't believe me? Then why is there a new shopping mall down at the business district of the village?" Sasuke froze at this, then turned his attention to the civilian council, who were shaking in fear of their great Sasuke-sama being angry with them, but one green-haired skinny woman who looked like a piles of bones in hooker clothing, said, "Sasuke-sama. We built that mall in order for you to grow more money than that QB brat and buy more land so that the Uchiha clan could expand properly. It would have been wasted if we did not help you invest on something quickly before the money would have gone to buying more supplies for the village. We swear. You own 60% of the income of the mall while we take 40% and you can have anything for free there." Sasuke-hn. Well, saying I don't care about investments. Nor do I care what happens to that money. It was mine and I was going to buy that temple that is so rightfully mine, not this cannon fodder. The duck-butt-haired last Uchiha turned again to look directly at Naruto, then said, "I know you have women in that temple, and I know you are living there right now. Move out of it and take whatever trash you have that is yours inside and leave the women as they will be my slaves and keep the temple clean in my presence of me being there. As from this day, that temple now belongs to the Uchiha clan, which is the only true founder of this stupid pathetic village and the greatest clan in the world. My word overrules yours, Naruto. Now hand over the deed to that temple and leave this room while you still can with that pathetic little empty pride of yours, you son of a wasteful and disgusting whore." There was a brief moment of silence when Naruto looked into Sasuke's eyes with a look of indifference, then not even a minute later, the blonde Uzumaki burst into laughter as he kept hitting the table with his right hand continuously, then standing up to laugh louder in Sasuke's face before he calmed down and said to Sasuke, "Hahaha. That's really the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, sure, I've heard better like Tsume-san over here getting drunk and chazzing her own tail, or Chaoza-san attempting to make a cooked turkey his second wife, but this definitely takes the cake out of all the things I've heard so far. Your clan. The Uchiha clan. The best clan. Dude, let me tell you the difference between your clan and mine. First, how about I break down the history of your clan, since I already know you're too stupid to even learn it all as you are so prideful. You purposely believe the Uchiha clan is a gift from God and they have no faults. Your clan are nothing but thieves, well, not all of them, but yeah, they are thieves. They barely survived the clan wars on their own, and they needed the help of the Senju clan and Uzumaki clan to survive, since they were also the ones who helped build this village. Mind you, the Shodaime Hokage built every single house, building and forest on his own, but yeah, that's what happened. Your clan only became angered by having to not become the clan to take the Hokage mantle first during that time, but they were also pissed off at your ancestor Madara Uchiha, the strongest clan head of the Uchiha clan, who they turned on and banished him from the clan because he allured the Senju clan to take the Hokage position before they could. Their great ancestor, who is rumored to have the greatest Sharingan eyes, was defeated by the Shodaime Hokage himself, and after that happened, the very same Kyubi no Kitsune he summoned to help him in the fight was quickly taken down and sealed away by my great-grand-aunt Mito Uzumaki. Moving right along to the real facts. Your clan only became more bitter when they were pushed out the clan district and into their private district, as they were giving the position as police officers and prison guards. Shit got so unfair for you fools that you started thinking that maybe planning a coup against Hokage-sama would help you all to fully restore the glory that was taken away from your clan, but that got you nowhere, as wait for it, you were all killed by your own trusted prodigy of an Anbu Izumi Uchiha. It took one single person to kill you all in just one night. By now, the Uchiha's face was beginning to be tomato red in infuriating anger and attempted to jump Naruto, only to be stopped by the two Anbu standing in front of him, who held him back easily. Oh yeah. Get angry, cause that's all you're gonna do. And after that you're gonna be breeding again for another 5 hours tops before your mind forgets all what I have said here, but let's move on to my clan. The clan wars. Don't get me started on how many clans my clan took down, and you can ask Inoichi-san over here who has known what exactly happened since I invited him to see my temple's library. You want to talk about starting a village? Okay, let's go there. The Uzumaki clan helped the Senju clan create the very same barrier that protects this village today, along with the seals that were placed around the Hokage tower to protect it from any attack that might occur like an invasion or a hostile takeover. And that's not it. When Nito-sama got married to the Shodaime Hokage Hashirama Senju, the Uzumaki clan provided this village with a high number of deed S-class kenjutsu that made the Natum Hokage Tobirama Senju a feared and acknowledged shinobi of his time. Jutsu like the Kage Bushin, the Great Edo Tensei and the summoning jutsu to summon the Shinigami. After that, my clan moved on to build its own village. Yeah, that's right. Its own village. And it would have been the 6th great hidden village had it not been attacked. Oh, you're gonna smirk now. Said Naruto, seeing Sasuke smirk at hearing what Naruto said about the Uzumaki clan being attacked, but the blonde continued, yes, we were taken down with only a handful full of us surviving, unlike your flat foul end being spared. You know what it took to take us down? Not one person. Nope, it took 3 great villages, 3 great villages to take down one clan that took out nearly the entire army of shinobi sent to take us down. Sure, that was a lose, but again, a lot of us had survived and my mother was sent to this village and taken into custody of the Senju clan when she arrived. The other survivors? I'm not sure where they are, but I'll soon find them and have them live here in Konoha with me so that the Uzumaki clan can be whole again and maybe maybe have its current clan head be the first Uzumaki to become Hokage. Now, Hokage-sama, I would like to conclude to the council that I am living in the temple and will be staying there for the time being until the main house of the clan compound is built, and I would also like to be placed under the crow. Some of the civilian members gained smug looks at this as one fat bold member stood up and said, if that is the case, then your sperm is all that is required. Once there is enough, you will be executed for insulting a future clan head of the great Uchiha clan and poisoning a village elder. Jiraiya, who was now standing beside Hiruzen, again raised his right eyebrow and said, excuse me. Are you accusing my godson of being responsible for the heart disease Kaharu-sama is suffering right now? Unfortunately, the civilians once again grew very small backbones and starting shouting on about Naruto being the culprit, as it is only the demonic work of the QB to infect such a great lady of the village and try to kill her, since she is the one who helped take the QB down when it was still a little bastard. They would have continued again, but were stopped when the Hokage released a heavy amount of killer intent on them and said, silence, you blabbering fools. I will not be hearing anything from you all about Kaharu ever again, and that accusation will be revoked this instant. Am I clear? Am I clear? Again, the civilians had gotten shit scared and all sat down as all of them avoided the Sandaimi's intensified glare and nodded their heads nervously as they didn't want to be on the receiving end of the great professor's wrath. The Sandaime cleared his throat and said, this discussion of the Uzumaki temple has been now decided and a village meeting will be held to explain to the villagers that the temple is a part of Konoha and who it belongs to. Now, we shall discuss other important matters related to UPOPLE' glares at the civilian council. Some recent evidence has been found about the civilian council doing some very dirty deeds behind my back and that of the shinobi council, and the fire daimyo will be here when the day of the final chunin exams commences. Do not make it any worse for yourselves by trying to run or leave this village, as you will be hunted down and killed on the spot. Hearing this, all the civilians' eye widened in shock, with some turning pale white in fear and were now really beginning to piss themselves as they could see the many glares they were receiving from the shinobi council, and one civilian looked over to Danzo, who glared back at them, causing to them to realize there was truly no way out of this. Back with Sasuke, the last Uchiha pulled himself off of the two Anbu, but gave a Sharingan blazing glare to Naruto and said, mark my words, you insolent whelp. I will kill you for all that you have said to me, and I won't stop till there is nothing else left of you. I will take away every single thing you love and I will turn it into my own or destroy it if I choose to. I will do all of this in the name of the prestigious Uchiha clan, and I swear to finish off what those pathetic villages couldn't do. I will kill you, and my power will exceed yours one way or the other. Naruto, who wasn't all affected by Sasuke's threat, simply gave him a bored look while placing his left cheek on his left hand and replied, same goes to you, Sasuke. But last I check you don't have anything you care about. Oh wait, you only care about killing that sister of yours Izumi. Maybe I should make her my precious person and help her deal with the fact that letting you live was the greatest mistake she had ever done. Hell, maybe I'll help her realize that your life wasn't even worth sparring at all. Fuck, I should do that grins. Sasuke fumed even more at this, but chose to leave the chambers, believing that there will be another day when he will put the clan less dope in his place, which is at his feet. Flashback end. After the council meeting, the Sandaime had told the villagers along with everyone else everything he had explained to the council about the temple, and it seemed that they took it better than a civilian council did. Back to the present, today is a sunny day as people filled up the Konoha Stadium with some of the stands having the villagers seated with others having Shinobi and Konoichi with the clan heads seated. Then there was the VIP section where some of the daimyo of the elemental countries and rich merchants were seated with their trusted guards as they watched the spectacle before them begin. The stadium was filled with many people as cheers could be heard, and while some obvious civilians were there to cheer the last uchiha who is yet to arrive, and others were there to cheer those who they have placed their bets on. In the Kage stands, here we find one Hiruzen Sarutobi dressed in his Kage robes with his Kage hado and while having his battle attire underneath the robes, sitting next to him is the Yondaime Kizakage, who is the father to the 3 Suna contestants who will be fighting today. Standing behind Hiruzen is one tall male Anbu who wore the ox mask, and the other Anbu was none other than Uchiha dressed in the standard Anbu clothing with a long katana blade that has a red leather handle with a hexagon guard sheathed on her back wearing the mask for Fox. Uchiha looked over to her right to see 3 guards standing behind the Yondaime Kizakage and couldn't help but feel a very strange feeling well up inside of her telling her that something about the 3 guards and the Kizakage was way too odd. I don't know why, but I just have this gut feeling that Ja-sama has given this tagged kunai to me for a reason. This kunai, it has the same tag that is used to control the bodies of a person summoned through the Edo Tensei. I suppose to be worried that something bad is going to happen to Sarutobi. Or should I be prepared for something that will require my skills to protect him against whoever it is that is acting as the Yondaime underneath that skin? Somehow, I really wouldn't care what happens up here. So long as Naruto-sama is safe and the fallen are doing their duty to protect the temple and bring her back to Ja-sama, I am well at ease for whatever surprise will make its way today. I did not spend the last 2 weeks training under Jashin-sama for nothing. Today seems like a day for Konoha Kizakage Dono. Last year's chunin exams were more dominated by your Sunagenin and those of Kurigakure, but it seems only your children have made it into the finals, while only Konoha and Odo are the only villages competing in these finals, said Hiruzen as he took out his pipe and began to smoke. The Kizakage gave a chuckle as he responded, really? Why do you speak so high of yourself, Hokage Dono? Do you really believe that the last Uchiha can win against my youngest son Gaara? Sasuke? I wasn't talking about him. But on that matter, I do wonder what is keeping him and Kakashi late. If they don't get here before Sasuke's match with your son starts, then I will disqualify him as I shall not show any favoritism just because some of the villagers have came to see him. He is just a genin competing like everyone else today, and he shall not be given special treatment just because he is the last member of the Uchiha clan or for the fact of some of the merchants betting on him against your youngest son Gaara-kun. The Kizakage didn't give a reaction to what Hiruzen had to say, but Kohoro saw a slight eyebrow twitch, along with his left hand twitching twice, causing the disguised Kunoichi to be more vigilant about the Kage sitting next to her old friend and soon-to-retired Sandaime Hokage. Down at the stadium, 7 of the contestants out of the 9 were present, and here we find one Genma Shiranui finishing his explanation on the rules and said. Also, Shikamaru Nara will not be competing against Osu who was found dead a week ago, so now the match will be changed to Shikamaru vs Tamari no Sabaku, and there will be no extra matches. Now will everyone besides Naruto, Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga please leave the arena and head up to the contestant booth. Everyone left for the booth besides Naruto, who is still dressed in his straight black jumpsuit pants with a pair of black shinobi sandals and a white t-shirt adored with a black upside-down star. The Konoha headband tied around his forehead, and he has a small platinum braid chain around his neck, and there appears to be 2 tattoos on the top parts of his hands, as his left hand has the Kenji for yin, and the other has the Kenji for yang, and Neji who is dressed in blue shinobi sandals. Brown shorts and a khaki shirt with a dull blue shirt beneath the khaki with mesh armor, and he appears to have bandages wrapped on his chest, right arm and right leg, with his hair being tied into a loose ponytail, and has the Konoha forehead protector at his forehead as it has 2 straps framing his head. Genma looked at the 2 chunin hopefuls and said to them both, "Are you ready?" The 2 nodded in response to the question, then Genma shouted Hajime. Then stepped back from the 2. "You are fool to think you can win against me, Naruto-san, for fate has already declared me as the winner of this fight," said Neji with a smirk, only to gain a tick mark at seeing Naruto's bored expression as he responded to the Hyuga prodigy. Neji, for my sake, yours, and the Hyuga clan, do not, I repeat, do not babble on about your stupid beliefs in fate and how fate has given you the bad hand because your late father was born a few seconds after Hinata-sen's dad. I really do sympathize with the lose of your father and how that has affected your childhood, but what I don't like is your hatred for the main branch family of the Hyuga clan, especially how much you hate Hiashi-san and his 2 daughters. This caused Neji to fume and clenched his fists as he yelled to Naruto, what do you know about what I have been through? You know nothing of my struggles. You are just like Hinata-sama when it comes to what fate deals for. Hold it right there. I know enough to actually know what you have felt, Neji. You might not know this, but my parents died sacrificing themselves to seal a tailed beast into me that took the lives of a lot of people in this village and nearly destroyed Konoha as a whole. Because of a couple stupid and bitter idiots on the council who can't tell the difference between a scroll and its contents, I haven't been living the high life I was fated to live, as you would say. Sure, I had Anko-chan to take care of me for a while, but my life was still shit even with her around sometimes. I had constant assassinations on me, mob attacks on my birthday, people ridiculously overpricing me, and nearly being faked. This one time a certain fuckboy of a man thought doing that to me would help him relieve his anger of the lose of his ex-wife and child to the QB. You know how I feel about all of this? I don't feel pissed at all, because I know that being angry at HEM points to the villagers won't solve shit for me, so I did the best thing I could do and not give up on living my life the way I wanted to, not the way your fate wanted. I just recently got lucky and found out about my parents and my heritage as an Uzumaki. But did I let it go up to my head? Fuck no. I'm still the same always jeering butic no shit idiot I was from the academy, because even though I have everything I ever wanted in life, I'm still chasing that dream of becoming Hokage, no matter what happens to me. And fate. I don't believe in that shit, cause why? I defied that shit 10 times over in my life. Now can you just shut up and fight me like you're supposed to, or I'll just end this match faster, then you can save fate. Neji was angered at what the blonde before him said about his belief and mocking it and ran up to him in full speed with his right hand beeped back, hoping to land one single hit on Naruto's forehead to end the match quick. The 2 Konoha genin engaged in a hand-to-gentle fist fight, and Naruto was bobbing and weaving at every attempt Neji made to try and hit his vital points, which only infuriated the Hyuga more. Having enough of this, Naruto caught Neji's hand, then pulled him just to hit him with a right elbow in the chest, causing the Hyuga prodigy to cough up blood and stumble back in pain of the hit to the sternum. Just as he was about to take a breath, he quickly dodged a right punch from Naruto, who came down fast as his punch landed on the ground, causing a lot of dust to rise, as most of the ground doing so created a crater at the impact of Naruto's mean right punch. Neji looked to see Naruto had left his position in a black flash, then looked around for him, only to be met with a backhand to the face, sending him flying back while scurrying across the field to a stop. Naruto dusted off his right shoulder, then said to a slowly raising Neji, "You gonna take me seriously now? Or should I just finish this up quickly cause I really wanna go for the special lunch I was promised back home at my temple?" Up in the stands of the shinobi, Asuma whistled as he said Naruto has definitely upped his game since the prelims. It looks like he mastered the Yondai Maze Hirishin no Jutsu in under a month. The kid really is a bag of surprises. Anko, who was seated far away from Asuma, chuckled as she said, "Trust me, Asuma. What Naruto-kun is doing to this kid is just toying with him. Naruto-kun has mastered the Hirishin no Jutsu to the point where he doesn't even require his father's markers anymore, and his speed has naturally increased from a high Jounin level to high Kage level with the weight seals applied on him right now. Unlike the time he unlocked his true Uzumaki chakra, he didn't have that much chakra control, so he spent the entire month doing chakra control exercises and learning how to use his new eyes he now calls the Uzushigen." Kurenai folded her arms and looked over to her best friend and said, "Just how do you know all of this, Anko? I know you did move in with him and get engaged to him as his first wife, but how exactly do you know about his training?" Anko gave her trademark smirk and said to Kurenai, "I was there training with him, Nai-chan. The Uzumaki temple has this special training dimension that gives a person the ability to take a year's worth of training and turn it into a day. It's basically a dimension that runs on a different time scale than ours, as 1 day outside is 1 year inside. By the way, Nai-chan, I was wondering if you would be my braid's maid of honor." Back with Naruto, the blonde was once again bobbing and weaving as he was dodging all of Neji's attacks, which were pretty slow to him in actuality, and with a sigh. He ducked under a right-hand hit from Neji, then did a leg sweep which Neji jumped over, only to be met with a right foot to the face, pushing him far back from Naruto, who raised his right arm to him, that caused Neji to be pulled back towards Naruto by some invisible force. Then he was met with a roundhouse kick that had him scurry to the ground and have his back hit the wall hard while yelling in pain of the impact. Naruto ran forward in Kage speeds that had most of the people up in the shinobi stand shocked, while two little girls watching the match were smiling at seeing their work pay off. While only one of them as the other remained stoic while shaking her head negatively at her cousin's pride and joy for training their master. "You know he can do better than this," said Office with a monotone voice, but Jashin giggled in delight as she replied with eye smiles. "I know, Afi-chan, but I still can't help but feel like I have accomplished something by seeing him beat the living daylights out of the person some of these ninjas would believe to win the match. Which reminds me, how much did they bet on the Hyuga? By adding up the bets, it's about 500,000 Ryo. Remember that we still need to pay the fallen for guarding the temple and the summoning when that happens," said Office, only to be met with an eye roll from Jashin who responded, I already paid them Afi Baka. And besides, those two girls said they would do this for free for Naruto-sama. I'm already seeing an orgy with how many more of them are willing to throw themselves at him all for his looks and power that obviously exceeds anything they have ever seen before and for the fact that Naruto-sama has warmed his way into their empty and void hearts like he always does with a lot women he comes by. Naruto-sama really owes you big time, Afi-chan. Snickers, I think I know how he plans to repay me already, said Office with Jashin eye widening at knowing what Office meant, then folded her arms and huffed with a blush as she said, lucky bitch. It has been 3 minutes since the start of the match and Neji wasn't faring well as his clothes were all messed up and he was bleeding from several open wounds on his person as he could feel that his chakra was slowly becoming more and more depleted at his constant use of the rotation when Naruto would use his unbelievable godly wind and fire jutsu that has nearly set ablaze to the stadium. If it wasn't for his quick thinking using the sand around him to switch of the flames with the sand turning into a glass by the heat. He looked up to see Naruto just finishing the hand signs he was doing and said fire style. Phoenix fire jutsu. A torrent of 1,000 small fireballs came flying towards Neji and the Hyuga prodigy once again began to spin as he shouted rotation. And the rotating chakra protective force field came up stopping the fireballs from attacking Neji. Once he stopped rotating, he immediately turned on his Byakugan, then saw Naruto slowly walking up to him, not even looking a little tired from the constant fire jutsu and wind jutsu he has been using. Neji growled at this, got into position as he said, I am getting tired of you toying with me, Uzumaki. I will end this match once and for all and show you that fate has decreed me the winner even with all your power exceeding mine. Go ahead, take your best shot, said Naruto who stood there with his arms to his side, waiting to see just how much damage Neji's best technique could do to him, seeing as he could see the Hyuga prodigy was on his last legs. Neji smirked at this thinking that the blonde Uzumaki before him has now fallen to arrogance, believing he could dodge his next move, and said, you are now within my range of divination 8 trigrams. 64 palms. The young Hyuga then ran up to Naruto and delivered the many Jukin strikes while shouting. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. By the end of the barrage of Jukin attacks, Naruto was somehow still standing on his feet but could feel his body was now numb and blood was slowly trickling out of his mouth with his eyes being closed. Neji, who was now huffing and puffing as he could feel he didn't have that much energy left to continue fighting, smirked as he looked on at the frozen form of Naruto and said all of that talk was nothing but a bluff. Look at you now. As I said before, your fate was to lose to me and now you are standing there with just an inch of your life left. I can see that all your Tenketsu points have been sealed and now your special Uzumaki chakra won't be of any use to you anymore. This match is. Well, that was disappointing. Neji looked back at Naruto, then stepped back in utter shock of seeing through his activated Byakugan. The very same Tenketsu points he had closed through hitting them were now being forcefully opened as the very core of Naruto exploded with white chakra that had spread throughout his body, unsealing the Tenketsu points he closed up. Impossible. How can such a thing like this happen? I shut off all the points in your body. Just what are you? Naruto slowly stood up and looked at Neji as his eyelids opened, revealing the white rings in his gloss black eyes spinning fast, and said me. I'm just a kid with a lot of bad luck. But don't take my word for it. Go ask that bitch you have given your whole life believing to be real. She knows I'm the type of guy who never falls down, no matter how hard you come at me. Now, it's time I end this match. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he looked deep into Neji's pale white eyes and said. Secure me. Up in the Kage stands, the Kazekage eye widened and voiced his shock over to Hiruzen and said this young man he hails from the lost Uzumaki clan, but his mysterious Dojutsu gives him the variant abilities of the Uchiha clan's Sharingan and also has the strong affinity of fire and gravity release. How is that possible, Hokage Dono? I have never seen such eyes or power before in my experience and knowledge of the Uzumaki clan. Neither have I, Yondaime Dono. According to the history of the Uzumaki clan, it is said that the ancestor of the clan was a descendant of the mythical Rakuto Sennin and wielded a dijutsu he was gifted from the Shinigami himself. In a way, the Uzumaki clan has always had a better relationship with supernatural beings as they were given their longevity by the Shinigami and were given the Mask of Summoning as a way to establish some sort of summoning contract with the said deity. The scientists of this great village have deduced the Kushina was carrying the DNA of the Uzumaki ancestor but could never activate the Kekkei Genkai along with the abnormal white chakra that is said to be that of a god. But doesn't the legend of the sage say that he had white chakra too? Said the Kazekage, and Hiruzen narrowed his eyes, then responded in a low tone. Yes, it does speak of that. Back in the stadium, once Naruto mentioned the said Genjutsu, Neji eye widened first, then screamed loudly for a short 5 seconds, then fell to knees, then collapsed on the ground, with his eyes going to the back of his head. Genma quickly checked Neji's pulse, then stood up as he said winner by knockout, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto looked up to the crowd, then eye widened at the many cheers we was given by the crowd as he thought to himself they're cheering for me. No, they're just sucking up to me, that's all whatever. If they want to cheer then who am I to stop them? Besides, I always daydreamed of this moment as a kid but now the feeling is just not the same I guess. Naruto then left the field as he walked up the stairs, then got up to the booth, ignoring the looks of shock he was getting from the Suna Siblings besides Gaara. Hey Shikamaru. You better not forfeit the match you're gonna be in now. I saw your mom up in the stands with something that looks really big, shiny and probably made from steel too, said Naruto, only to be met with a grunt and a troublesome mother by Shikamaru. Time skip. The fight is the same as the canon with Kidomaru forfeiting his match with Kankuro. It was now the match between Gaara and Sasuke, and the self-proclaimed leader of the greatest clan in existence and Uchiha elite still wasn't there as he was yet to arrive for the fight with Gaara standing in the field, not looking too pleased about his opponent not arriving as his mother desperately wanted to spill the blood of the last Uchiha. Up in the Kage stands, the Yondai Kazekage was trying to talk to Hiruzen Sarutobi about letting Sasuke compete but still failed the finals since a lot of people have came to see him fight Gaara, but the Sandaime Hokage shook his head and responded. As I have said before, every contestant of the finals are genuine understanding the importance of this part of the exams as they know very well that they, along with their respective villages, will be judged for how they perform here in the final part of the chunin exams. Even if my village is hosting, allowing Sasuke to still compete now will be seen as a sign of favoritism shown to the Uchiha, and that will give us a bad reputation as a village. Therefore, Sasuke must be disqualified, and Naruto-kun will fight your daughter to determine who will be fighting Gaara-kun in the finals. Osushi. Tell Genma that Sasuke is to be disqualified for not arriving to fight Gaara, and will not be competing against anyone as he as of now failed the chunin exams. The Anbu nodded and left the Kage stands in a leaf shunshin, then whispered into Genma's right ear, who nodded to the Sandaime Hokage, and said due to Sasuke Uchiha not arriving for the match, he is to be disqualified with Gaara no Subaku being the winner of the match. Insert boom from the crowd, the next match will be. Poof. In a poof of smoke, Sasuke and Kakashi finally arrived with the later saying to Genma, are we late? Yeah. Because of that, Hokage-sama has disqualified Sasuke for not arriving any sooner, and he won't be competing with anyone as he failed the chunin exams altogether. What did you just say? Said a fuming Sasuke, who would have said more, but noticed Kakashi walking away and turned to him while shouting, hey, get back here and defend me, you lazy coward. If it wasn't for. Smack. The crowd, along with Sasuke, was stunned to silence when Kakashi turned around and gave a backhand smack to Sasuke, who was pushed back by its force, and said to the Uchiha with a stoic expression. This will be the last time I ever speak to you again or even look at your disgusting face again. I will never ever teach your spoiled selfish ass anything ever again, and I don't care what you think of me, and I never really did as I only trained you because the civilian council was blackmailing me, which might I add, is now coming to end today. I won't tell you this again, now stand the fuck up and go back to that empty house of yours as you are no longer needed here. You have embarrassed this village and this country enough already. Back at the stands, the Kazekage was thinking to himself while watching what was happening to Sasuke. Damn it. Curse this old fool for stopping Sasuke-kun from competing and curse that blasted Kakashi. I can't allow Gaara to fight the QB brat as I know he will most likely knock him out before he can rely on the Ichibi for chakra and lose control. I guess I have no choice but to start the invasion right now while I still can and killed Sarutobi-sensei and capture the QB brat and Sasuke-kun at the same time. The Kazekage took out a small mirror from his right pocket, then flashed it into the crowded seats, giving some sort of signal to a masked figure in a black cloak hiding behind one of the seats who recognized it and did a few hands as he whispered. Feather illusion jutsu. In just that very moment, white feathers could be seen falling from the sky, and all of the civilians in the crowd soon began to fall asleep, while most of the shinobi in Kunoichi recognized the genjutsu and immediately released it before they could fall for it. Office, who was not affected by the genjutsu at all with Jashin who decided to succumb to it out of the fun of experiencing the illusion, took out a flip phone and dialed a number then called it. As soon as the call was answered, she sat back onto the chair and said to the voice on the other line. Azazel, it's time. Open the gateway and make sure no innocent human is harmed. Understood, office. Over and out. Naruto looked around him to see several Suna Jounin with Oto Jounin surrounding him whiling, releasing all of their killer intent on him, and saw Shikamaru knocked out cold as he was hit with a chop on the back of the neck, and the Oto Genin being Kidomaru was long gone. The blonde Uzumaki looked at them all and said. An invasion, huh? And by the looks on your faces you're all either here to kill me or kidnap me for whoever sent you well, I got 2 words for you grins and spreads arms out Shinra Tensei. Chapter end. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, peace out.